Think about how we usually interact with the world today. We wake up, we scroll through our phones, and we are just instantly bombarded with numbers, right? Casualties in distant conflicts, statistics on some new disease, shifting demographics, rising death tolls. We are so completely inundated with data that it's natural we develop this desensitized, almost purely mathematical worldview. 1,000 is obviously worse than 100, and 1? Well, 1 is just a statistical anomaly. But today, we're setting out on a deeply philosophical exploration of human life that asks us to completely abandon that modern, desensitized mindset. Centered entirely around one singular, really profound source text, this explainer invites us to consider a staggering concept: the absolute infinite value of a single human life. We're going to unpack the architecture of this idea step by step and really visualize the immense ethical weight packed into just one incredibly powerful sentence.
Okay, let's dive into this. Right off the bat, we're faced with a core ethical and mathematical paradox. In our everyday lives, we're conditioned, basically from childhood, to think in fractions and percentages. You look around a crowded city street and one person is just 1 out of 8 billion. Mathematically speaking, 1 is a tiny, almost imperceptible fraction of the whole. If humanity's a pie, a single life feels like a microscopic crumb. But the source material we're unpacking today flips this completely upside down. It challenges us to ask, what if human life doesn't operate on a scale of fractions at all? What if the value of a single individual isn't just a piece of the pie, but is, in fact, the entire pie? How can 1 equal all? It is a massive conceptual leap, for sure. So to really understand it, we need to go directly to our source text.
The answer to this paradox actually lies in a single foundational sentence. I want to read this slowly because the sheer gravity of these words really needs a moment to land. Whoever takes a life, unless as a punishment for murder or mischief in the land, it will be as if they killed all of humanity. And whoever saves a life, it will be as if they saved all of humanity. This comes from the Qur'an, chapter 5, verse 32. And this single sentence is exactly what we're going to dissect today. It contains a devastating negative, a set of very specific structural exceptions, and an incredibly triumphant positive. You see, this text isn't just some ancient rule, it's an entire ethical framework, beautifully condensed into a single breath, and it challenges literally everything we think we know about human value.
So our source text establishes what we can call the premise of infinite value. It frames human life not as a quantifiable number that you could just add or subtract on a spreadsheet, but as something absolutely infinite. Just think about the radical nature of this premise for a second. If 1 life equals all of humanity, then you absolutely cannot perform a clinical cost-benefit analysis on human survival. You can't look at a crisis and say, well, we lost 1 person, but hey, we saved 10, so we're up by 9, net positive. Right? The text rejects that utilitarian math entirely. In a utilitarian system, individuals are inherently expendable for the greater good. But here, if you lose 1, you lose everything. Life, in this framework, is a totality. Every single breathing person is an entire universe of potential, of history, and of humanity. When you look at an individual through this lens, you aren't looking at a fraction, you are looking at a complete universe.
Now, if we isolate the very first clause of this text, it reveals the absolute moral devastation of unjustified killing. Whoever takes a life, as if they killed all of humanity. We really have to adopt a somewhat somber, reflective perspective here to truly grasp what the source is arguing. By equating 1 murder to the annihilation of the entire human race, the text is telling us that the crime of taking a life is boundless. It's not a localized event contained to 1 family or 1 town or 1 moment in time. It's a direct attack on the very concept of humanity itself. Imagine humanity as a beautifully complex tapestry spanning generations. Taking a life isn't just snipping a tiny corner off. It's pulling a single, vital thread and watching the entire image unravel into nothingness. The ripples of that destruction don't stop at the individual. Conceptually, they wipe out the whole world.
However, the text does introduce a strict internal logic regarding justice and societal preservation. The source explicitly lists 2 textual exceptions to this rule of absolute infinite value: punishment for murder and mischief in the land. We're simply reporting the framework exactly as it's written. The text acknowledges that a society has to have mechanisms to protect itself from destruction. So the infinite value of life is, paradoxically, protected by allowing for the punishment of those who would violate that very sanctity. It's a complex, self-contained system of ethical boundaries, and it's designed to maintain order so that the infinite value of the innocent can ultimately be preserved.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how the text categorizes this concept of mischief in the land. It places this specific societal disruption on the exact same tier as murder. Within the internal logic of the text, mischief, which implies systemic corruption, chaos, or widespread harm, is seen as a literal existential threat to the community. Remember that idea of the totality of humanity we discussed a minute ago? Well, systemic corruption rots that totality from the inside out. The text pairs it alongside murder as the only caveats, which suggests that destroying the fabric of society through chaos or corruption is conceptually just as devastating as destroying a physical human body. Both of these actions fundamentally threaten the preservation of humanity.
And this brilliantly illustrates the structural symmetry of the text. On the one hand, the ultimate negative, taking one life equates to killing all humanity. On the other hand, the ultimate positive, saving one life equates to saving all humanity. The text functions perfectly, almost like a set of scales. It tells us that human agency is a fulcrum. The power you hold in your hands to harm or to heal isn't small or localized. It is universally significant. The absolute devastation of the negative side is perfectly mirrored by the absolute glory of the positive side. And it's this positive side where our focus really must turn now, because it completely redefines our capacity for good.
Which brings us to the core focus of our explainer today, the ethics of saving lives. We're pivoting away from the darkness of that heavy, severe warning and stepping into the incredible, liberating light of the second clause. Just contrast the immense burden of the negative with the immense, uplifting power of this positive call to action. The source material isn't just setting boundaries for our behavior, it's actually profoundly empowering us. It shifts our perspective from what we must avoid doing to the incredible magnitude of what we can achieve when we choose to step up, protect, and preserve one another.
So the crucial point is this: one life equals all humanity. This is the source's ultimate ethical triumph regarding preservation. And honestly, it acts as the perfect antidote to something we all struggle with today: compassion fatigue. When we open our news feeds and see global tragedies involving thousands or millions of people, we feel helpless. We think, I can't possibly make a difference. The problem is too big, the numbers are just way too high. But this ethical framework absolutely obliterates that helplessness. It argues that saving one person in your immediate vicinity carries the exact same moral weight as saving the entire planet. Whether you're a doctor in an emergency room, a lifeguard on a beach, or just someone who pulls a stranger out of the path of a speeding car, you're not just making a small, localized difference. According to this framework, you are saving the world in its entirety. It elevates the act of preservation to the highest possible cosmic significance.
Let's look at the exact phrasing again and read the second half of the quote with the triumphant energy it really demands. And whoever saves a life, it will be as if they saved all of humanity. It's just an incredible concept. It completely summarizes the mechanism of these ethics. By choosing to step in and save a life, you're acting as the preserver of the human universe. You don't need to invent a global cure or negotiate world peace to save humanity. The text guarantees that by focusing all your effort, all your care, and all your ethics on just one single human life, you've already achieved the ultimate victory. You have preserved the whole. The universe continues because of that one act.
Which leaves us with this final, vital thought. If saving one is saving all, how do we value the lives around us today? This isn't just some ancient ethical math, it is an active, urgent lens through which we can view our modern world. Think about it. How does this framework change the way we look at the person sitting next to us on the train? How does it change the way we approach humanitarian aid, healthcare, or simply basic everyday kindness? If every individual is a universe, then every act of preservation is a universal triumph. I'm going to leave you with that thought to reflect on.